Welcome to Cartoon Scary! Boo!
Think about the safety of your daily routine. We wake up, commute, and make casual decisions, unaware that a simple rejection or a forgotten family tradition can invite a supernatural entity straight into our living rooms. We're breaking down the systematic progression of these infections, mapping how a curse moves from a psychological attachment to a total biological collapse. By tracking two families, we can see the exact mechanics of a haunting. The first case study begins in the most mundane place possible, a packed Mumbai suburban train. This was the daily routine for a man named Sagar. The second case begins deep in the forests of Odisha. Hidden from the modern world, this ancestral home guards an 85-year-old blood pact that the family was never supposed to break. Despite the different settings, these entities operate on a strict, unbreakable set of rules. Surviving an encounter requires understanding the exact life cycle of the curse. Curses require a specific catalyst or a broken contract to initiate the infection. For Sagar, the trigger was a social rejection. After he rebuffed the advances of a colleague named Simran, she sought revenge through a Bengali tantric. The ritual summoned a jinn, binding it directly to Sagar's life. Rohit's father triggered his family's curse through an act of defiance. He refused to honor a generational agreement to sacrifice a pregnant wife to a Brahma Rakshasa, a pact that had provided the family with wealth for nearly a century. This initiates the exposure phase. This is the precise moment the entity officially attaches to the target. Refusing a dark demand creates an immediate, unpaid debt, one the entity will forcefully come to collect. Before attacking the physical body, the entity systematically dismantles the host's mind to weaken their natural spiritual defenses. Sagar began seeing dark shadows crawling across his bedroom ceiling. His wife soon discovered him sitting upright in total darkness, his eyes wide, murmuring in languages he had never learned. In Odisha, Rohit's family suffered through relentless auditory hallucinations. Every night they listened to the sound of phantom bangles and heavy horse hoofs stomping across the roof of their isolated home. These entities eventually mimic the voices of trusted loved ones to bypass the victim's caution. The jinn used the voice of Sagar's mother to lure him into the woods, while the Brahma Rakshasa spoke in the voice of Rohit's deceased grandmother to get him to open the door. This psychological breakdown is a necessary precursor to the terminal phase. It effectively hollows out the victim, preparing the body for a full physical takeover. When physical attacks begin, victims often panic and rely on half measures or attempt to flee the area entirely. Terrified by the increasing violence in the house, Rohit's family attempted to escape. They packed their belongings and drove into the dense forest, hoping the entity was tied only to the building. The escape failed instantly. Their vehicle violently veered off the road and crashed into the trees. While the rest survived the wreck, Rohit's father was found drowned in a nearby river shortly after. Sagar attempted a different form of resistance by seeking help from a local village healer. However, her spiritual influence was too weak to repel a jinn of that magnitude. The jinn retaliated against her interference by invading her dreams with a warning. The following day, she suffered a severe physical accident, removing the only external help Sagar had. Attempting to outrun a curse or using inadequate defenses often escalates the situation. It signals to the entity that the host is ready for the final, lethal stage of the hunt. Severing a terminal curse requires a multi-layered spiritual counterattack designed to outmatch the entity's influence. During his final possession, Sagar's wife used a cross and the loud recitation of the Hanuman Chalisa to physically drive the entity back while Sagar was actively strangling her. A master guru then trapped the entity using a smoldering lemon placed within a precise Rangoli pattern. Through a 1,000-chant mantra, he successfully bound the jinn and redirected the curse back to its source. Rohit's surviving family brought in a high-level exorcist to permanently seal the ancestral property. They established spiritual boundaries around the house and the forest to prevent the entity from ever returning. Success in the terminal phase depends on spiritual authority, meeting the entity's dark transactional influence with a superior and unyielding force. The process of hosting such an entity leaves the body physically shattered. During his possession, Sagar's health collapsed, his mobility failed, and he became unable to keep any food down. Only 7 days after the jinn was expelled, Doctors confirmed the extent of the internal damage, stage 4 lung cancer. The fractured endpoint of the life cycle diagram illustrates the reality of excision. While the spirit can be removed, the biological toll is often permanent, making early detection and absolute faith the only viable shields. These entities always collect on their debt. If you are alone tonight and hear a familiar voice calling you from the other side of your door, never open it.